Welcome to the Cobracast with the Prez and VP. For this episode, we would like to thank these valued partners.
Is your scratched window ruining your view? Starting from scratch to your experts at removing scratches from windows and any glass surface. Whether it's general scratches around the home or a knife graffiti tag shop front, they can remove it. They're also helping the environment by saving the window from being dumped into landfill while bringing the glass back to its former glory without the scratches. Don't replace your scratched window. Repair it with Starting from Scratched, your glass and scratch removal specialist for home, shop fronts and cars. Call today for a quote, 87595629, or find out more at startingfromscratch.com.au.
Once airborne, we'll let you know when you may use approved electronic devices, but note that some items may not be used.
Oh, welcome to the first episode of the Cobracast Around the Globe series. I'm your host, Ricky the Prez Logan, or better known as Rifty, and my co-host is Dog. So let the people know, Dog, where we're headed.
G'day, mates. Wherever my finger lands on the globe is where we're going today. Okay, now Wuhan, China is not where we really want to go.
No. Go.
Here we go. West Lothian in Scotland is our destination for today's episode of Around the Globe.
So where the bloody hell is West Lothian, mate?
Mate, West Lothian is located smack bang in the middle of Scotland's central belt, about halfway between Glasgow and Edinburgh. Not Edinburgh Reserve, Edinburgh, Scotland.
Jeez, all right. So how long is it going to take us to get there?
Well, it'd take roughly around 25 hours there to fly direct because it's 17,000 kilometres from Melbourne.
All right, so that's about 16,950 more Ks than what Dicko's been putting in at the beach. But so Scotland, it's 32 councils. West Lothian is 20th biggest in size, and it covers 427 square kilometres. So it's not that big. It's has the ninth biggest population out of all those 32 councils, with only 182,140 people. Interesting.
That is interesting, mate. Out of all them people, they've actually had a few celebrities be born in their town. The most famous ones include Susan Boyle.
Hottie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, real hottie.
This one's for Ange and the Bear Trap. David Tennant, the 10th incarnation of the Doctor in the show Doctor Who, and the reigning world darts champion, Peter Snakebite Wright.
So, the old Snakebite, mate. He's a big superstar.
It's actually quite an old town as well, mate. And their most famous landmark is the Linlithgow Palace, which was a residence of the Scottish monarchs in the 15th and 16th century. A lot of people head off there to see the ruins of that palace.
Yeah, nice. And apparently, the game of golf was invented in Scotland, and it's considered their national sport. So, a few of our boys enjoy hitting golf.
I wonder if they're allowed out to play their golf at the moment. I know a few of our boys aren't happy they can't.
Well, if they're not out playing golf, they're at home eating their national dish, which for some reason is bloody haggis.
Yeah, that's a strange one, mate. But West Lothian as well. This is a nice little fact. West Lothian is 7 hours from Kirkwall, which is the birthplace of groundskeeper Willie.
Geez, all right. Groundskeeper Willie, he's a bigger celebrity than bloody David Tennant, for sure.
And he's not from North Kiltington like he tries to tell Homer Simpson that he is as well.
Interesting, that one. So West Lothian Football Club is they play in the AFL Scotland, and the league is the Scottish Australian Rules Football League, or SARFL.
Yeah, mate, the SARFL, that's a bit of a mouthful. Would you like to know the rumour of how footy started in Scotland?
Yeah, hit us with it.
All right, mate. Well, rumour has it around 100 years ago, there was a group of expats who created a league while working on the Clyde shipyards. There's not a lot of evidence of that, whether it happened or not, though. The first attempts at a modern league were sometime in the 1990s when the Bombers were flying. And footy has grown since, with us being the newest addition. Footy has grown since, with West Lothian being the newest addition to the league, with teams in Edinburgh, Glasgow, Fife, and even Newcastle in the north of England. Formerly, there were Scottish teams in Aberdeen and Falkirk also, but those have since unfortunately folded.
Yeah, so tune into the episode. We'll watch the rest of this episode as we speak to Jamie Townend about all things West Lothian, all things Scottish and European football.
This one was recorded not that long ago, so we do discuss the current day situations. But how's your week been since we spoke to him, mate?
Oh, it's not too bad. It's, I don't know, since we spoke to these guys over in Scotland, we've got the Scottish weather over here at the moment with it pissing down rain. So
he was more than happy to let us know that they had the sunshine over there as well.
Yep, so it was a great chat. We got a lot of great information about Scottish and European football, so I hope everyone enjoys. And
just want to point out there's a nice story about footy trips in here, which I think a few of our boys would quite enjoy to hear.
Yeah, there was a few stories that made camera. There's a few more that unfortunately can't be shared on camera, but I'll tell you what, those Scottish boys, if the stereotypes are anything to go by, they know how to have a good time and know how to have a drink. So
a lot of them would fit right in down at Sandown with their attitude towards social life.
Definitely. And so enjoy this episode, and I hope you enjoy the whole series as we go around the globe with the Cobracast.
Enjoy.
All right, today we are joined by the president of the West Lothian Eagles Australian Rules Football Club, Jamie Townend. How are you going, mate?
All right, guys. Yeah, good. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Jamie's joining us all the way from Scotland.
Yeah.
So you got any idea what the time difference is at the moment over there?
So it's about 10 hours, is it? I think I'm 10 hours behind you guys. So you've finished your work for Friday, and I'm just about to start.
Yeah. So you're what, 8:15 at the time of recording in the morning over there?
Yeah. So it's straight 9 a.m. start for me.
I was saying to Rifty before we got going that normally, our pre-ramble with our guests, we told them, try and hold off having a sip of your beer when you're answering questions. I'm going to probably safe to say not an issue with you.
No, coffee. All coffee today.
Yeah, nice. And we can see the nice Scotland sun shining through the window today. Unfortunately, we haven't had much of that the last couple of days in Australia. So
yeah, we're getting too much of it for the lockdown. I think it's just typical that we get bad weather all year, and then as soon as we have to stay inside, it's nice. So
yeah. It's the way things go, isn't it? Oh well, let's get into the questions and get to know a bit about the West Lothian Eagles. So, how did you guys get started?
So it was back in about sort of 2016. It was a group of guys that were just sort of meeting up and kicking a ball around. So there's a few other teams in Scotland, and they kind of, some of these guys had played for those other teams, and there was a team that folded fairly close to us, about sort of 10, 15 miles away. So a lot of those guys were kind of looking for something to do. And there's a lot of sort of rugby teams and stuff like that around, which is sort of, the most sort of comparable sport that we have. So then that was kind of going on, and then we managed to secure support from the West Coast Eagles, which was sort of the catalyst for the team to get going and to get started. So our founder Mikey, he managed to get that from them. So they sent us strips, balls, like pretty much everything else that we needed to really get going.
Yeah, nice. That was nice of the West Coast Eagles to do that. And so what year did you guys manage to play your first game, and who was it against?
Yes. So I think the first game that we played was definitely against the Kingdom Kangaroos, who are they're about 10 years old, which in Scottish terms is old for an Aussie rules club. Because a lot of them sort of, they'll form and they'll be around for a bit, and then they'll fold as the Aussies who created them sort of go back home and stuff like that. So these guys played against us. They gave us our start, and we've continued pretty good relations with the Roos since then. So I don't think I think we got hammered, but in our first game, that's fine. It was more about just getting out there. So that was in the summer of 2017.
Oh, yeah, nice.
So you played, as you were saying before, you were founded by quite a few like Australian players started that had come from clubs that have folded around you. Obviously, in your area, and we know fully well how hard it is to get players. How many players did you have when you first started, and how many do you have now in this current day?
Yeah, so now we have about 50 probably at the club, so quite a lot, sort of, coming and going. So but at a sort of typical training session, we're looking at about kind of 30, 35.
It's better than us.
We don't.
Bet me to it, Rifty.
I knew that was coming. Yeah, so we get pretty good numbers. So the part of the reason for that is that we train. Our games are sort of out of the rugby season, so a lot of the rugby guys then play Aussie rules in the summer. In terms of actual Aussies, we don't have many. I think we've got 3 or 4 really, not many at all. Sort of where we are, it's right in the middle of Scotland, so we're not in sort of a major city, which is where sort of most of the Aussies tend to gravitate to. And when they got started, I think it was about 10 guys kicking a ball around the field. Now it's 50 guys and girls all formally training.
So you said 50 players that you have registered to your club, and you've only got 3 or 4 Australians. That must be pretty, decent amount of Scottish people playing in your club compared to the rest of the league, I would imagine.
No, you would think, but not at all. So we get the Aussies that we do have. So it's a mix of guys and girls. So when I'm saying 4 or 5, it's not like 5 guys. And there's a rule in the league for a maximum number of Aussies you can have in a team. So the reason behind that is because you guys obviously have grown up with the game. You know the game much better than most of the Scottish guys. So they have this rule, which is it's intended to grow the game here in Scotland because it's more sustainable to have more Scottish players. So yeah, it probably sounds like we have more than we do, but really we don't have many Aussies at all. We're probably the team with the least Aussies in Scotland.
Yeah. So we know quite a few blokes that like to move around clubs and say they're better than what they are. You have any Aussies that come across to Scotland and talk about how bloody good they are, then you see them play and you're sitting there scratching your head?
All of them, mate. It's their national attitude.
It is.
They're not good guys. Our guys clearly are great. They're really sort of, don't know if I'd call them down to earth, but they're Aussie version of down to earth. So they're good guys. I don't know what other teams are like, but certainly in our team, we've got some good ones.
So do you guys find it hard to get players and coaches, or has it been pretty easy?
Nah, it's been a big challenge. It's probably after equipment. I think it's probably our second biggest challenge. So it's the Aussies that we do have. We're pretty lucky with them. So I said before, I think one of them played against you guys or a local team in the sort of, is it the Melbourne South, in the Southern Melbourne League? He broke his leg versus Springfield Districts. I think that's a team that's pretty close to you guys geographically.
Yes. Springvale Districts,
so he played against them last year, or 2 years ago it would have been. So he's over just now. So I think that's a, comparatively to our league, that's a high level. So it's, he knows his stuff. We've got a guy, Matt Heaney, as well, who played in the SNFL. So he's an ex-pro from that league. So those guys are kind of our men's coaches now, so they've obviously got a good background. And then we've got a girl, Sophie Leonard, who she played up in Manly in Sydney. So she played 1 year in Sydney, and she's she knows so much more about the game than any of our kind of guys. So it's that's the sort of level of experience we're looking at. So in terms of recruitment for Aussies particularly, it's who comes through the area at the time. So what happens is people tend to come on these kind of 2-year working visas. They'll hang around for 2 years and then they'll go home. So it's a conveyor belt of recruitment. So you get people coming in and out.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And so, like you said, rugby's a big sport over there, and a lot of the guys are playing rugby in the rugby season, footy in the off season. Is that where you get most of your players, or are guys coming from soccer and other sports as well to give footy a try?
Again, it's a complete mix. So I think initially what we did with our sort of recruitment as a club was we targeted rugby clubs, and we tried to get those guys along. But a lot of these guys are kind of like, no, I'm playing rugby and that's what I want to play. Like, I don't want to do anything else, and so that's fine. So what we started initially, especially initially, what we got was sort of a lot of people who were more sort of into the social side of things. So going to the pub after, which obviously everybody likes. So that was good, and it was fun. And now we're sort of gradually bringing in more people who've played a bit more sport, who've played different things. So it's not like we target any specific group. We just literally take as many people as we can and try and build the club that way.
Yeah, nice.
So before you mentioned you have a women's team, that's even quite new for teams to have a single women's team in Australia. How did you get that up and going in such a short period of time of your history?
So initially when the men's team applied to join the league, we got rejected on the basis that they didn't think we had enough players. So we played what was called a development season, which was basically this. We played like a full set of league fixtures, but we didn't play for points, and we weren't involved in the table. So it was sort of a season to test if we were sort of viable as a club. So we took that time, sort of as a committee, we took that time to sort of really strengthen the foundations of the club, and we decided as well. We'd had a few women messaging the page during our kind of recruitment effort. So we just started saying just come along, and it went from there. So yeah, we tend to find as well that for some reason the women stuff was really, really popular on social media. So I don't know why, but there seems to be a huge boom in Australia for it just now. Like, I think it seems like a hot topic, but definitely been a really good thing having the girls around, and they effectively run their own team now. So
yeah, well, it's the women's league over here is only 3 years old.
Yeah, I think our league is probably 3. Yeah.
Yeah, our AFLW league, and there was a big sort of promotional push for it, and a lot of resources and stuff put towards it. So
it was actually one thing that we were trying to get sort of the ground floor put in place 2020 to get a team started in 2021, but obviously with everything at the moment might not happen. But we do hope to get a women's team built in the future. So
yeah, no, it's definitely been a good thing for us. It's been a huge plus, and it just gets more people involved as well. I think for something that a lot of people in Scotland have never heard of in Aussie football. It's great if they can sort of bring their families along, and a lot of guys have brought their girlfriends or wives along to it, like I have as well. My wife plays, so we've had a lot of stuff like that where it's turned the club into more of a kind of family deal, which is, I think that's been a positive.
Yeah, it's something that we've built on at our club, is being very family orientated, and a family, not just a couple of people here and there, but a family.
Yeah.
All right, Rifty, mate. Now let's get on to the real topic I want to know about.
Yeah, so you said a lot of the guys join the club for the social side. What type of function do you guys have, and talk us through a good function night at West Lothian.
So we our home ground is the Linlithgow Rugby Club. So they've got a clubhouse with a bar. So tends to be we start in there. We can get in there for free, and it's cheap enough. So it's pretty good in there. Then we sort of just head into the town. So it works out pretty well that the rugby club's at the far end of the town from the train station, so you can pub crawl along to the train station. So that happens a lot. We do try and organise a lot of sort of social events though that aren't just going to the pub. Try and make it a bit different. So I think there's a team in our league, the Tyne Tees Tigers. So I think the plan for this year is to do a kind of Tiger King theme night. So I think the guys will be dressing up like Joe Exotic.
Yeah, that's they're men after our own hearts. That's been big on our radar.
Just want to cut him off, but I'm going to ask him the question that we ask all our players at the end. Did Carol Baskin kill her husband?
Obviously. Definitely.
Well, there we go.
The tiger.
It's universal now. It's everyone we've had on so far has answered that. So
I can't imagine you'll get much discrepancies in the answer. She obviously did it.
So what are the beverages of choice over in Scotland at the moment? Like a lot of our boys are into the Carlton Dries. I'm not, it's probably not a drop that you have over there. But what are the Scots drinking on a big night?
It's all about the Tennent's Lager. It's so bad you can't get it anywhere else. I think it's highly. It's pretty much that's the kind of the lager that they have everywhere. So that's what we all go for, Tennent's.
Yep.
You've just given me an idea, Rift. I reckon I should make my way down to the local bottle mart down at Uzon Plaza and grab a couple of beverages of the local town for the ones we do from now on.
Yeah, we'll have to test out the Tennent's Lager, eh?
You have to test out the Iron Brew for the morning after. That's
that's the orange energy drink stuff, isn't it? The orange.
It's not an energy drink. I think that it's so like vague in the flavor. They call it fruit flavor.
I'm actually pretty sure I've had that before, and I was like, what is this? I don't quite understand what I'm meant to be tasting. All right.
So that's a hangover cure, is it? The Iron Brew.
Yeah. It's so. I think someone said it's like 39 teaspoons of sugar or something in a can. So it's.
All right, I know what I'm doing when we get out of lockdown after a big night, Rift.
Yeah.
All right. So now you've told me where you were going for your footy trip this year, and I can guarantee that every single bloke at our club would be just extremely jealous of where you were going. So tell us where you were going and where you have been in the past for your footy trips.
Yeah, so I guess you guys are all into the art culture. So we're going to Amsterdam. We love that art culture. We're heading over to Amsterdam. Well, the plan is to head to Amsterdam this year. So we have said the West Coast Eagles had supported us, so they've done that for a bunch of teams now across the world, and they continue to send us kit and equipment and things like that. So there's a team over in Holland called the Waterland Eagles. So they had this idea that we would do an Eagles Cup, which would be like all the European Eagles teams coming together to play. Sorry, my dog's invading.
No, you're all right, mate.
So they had this idea that all the Eagles teams would come and play sort of in an annual cup at the end of the season to play, just to sort of show support for the West Coast and say thanks for everything they've done for us. So there's Waterland Eagles, there's Lille Eagles, Milan Eagles, and I think there's a few others as well in Germany and places like that. Last year on free trip we went to Prague, so that was pretty good as well. It's similar to, don't know much about it, it's similar to Amsterdam, lots of art culture, that kind of thing. Beers are about 30p, so that was good. So I think that's about 50 cents.
We, as I had to think, 24 blokes head off in October for the Cobra cruise for our footy trip, and the joke going around is that we made it back just in time before coronavirus hit all the cruise ships. Otherwise, it could have been a very, very interesting footy trip with blokes
really long trip,
And there's blokes on that footy trip that after about 2 days, they just can't stand to even look at blokes, let alone be with them. So that would have been some good viewing. I watched one of your
other videos with, I can't remember his name, but the captain, I think, and he was saying something about someone losing their shoes or something like that. Was that one of the...
Yeah, that was my shoe, unfortunately.
Oh, was it?
I will claim responsibility, and that's as far as we're going with it.
Yeah, took a bit of a hit, but let's just say he got confused where the toilet was. So. But I'll tell you what, a few of our boys were lucky to make it back alive off the cruise. And I'll tell you now, if we went to Amsterdam, there'd be a few that would never see Australia again. They'd be locked up in Amsterdam for life, I reckon, if they got over there. So
you're going a good 80%, I reckon.
Yeah.
So I just want to point out, actually, so my co-host Rifty doesn't drink. So he was the sober one on our footy trip. Could you imagine yourself in Amsterdam sober, Rifty?
With some of the blokes that would go, no, I think I'd sit that one out. I would not want to be responsible for what would happen over there. That's for sure.
Actually, just sorry to point this out, but one of the questions we ask our blokes is who would make the best reality TV star. I reckon footy trip in Amsterdam, Rifty, that could make some bloody good reality TV.
Yeah, the Scots invading Amsterdam. That's a reality TV right there. I'd watch that.
No, maybe get one of those Netflix documentaries, The Eagle King
Yeah,
That's all Scotland.
for sure. Oh, well, as we were researching your club a bit, we noticed that you guys have a tournament, the Ashley Palmer Trophy. Can you
Yeah.
explain that a bit to us and how it came about?
Yeah. So we decided, I think sometime last year, we wanted to well, actually it was the year before probably, we decided we wanted to run our own tournament. So we know this guy, Ash Palmer. So he was in a car crash, unfortunately, and he's been paralyzed. So he can't play anymore, but he used to be quite a sort of prominent figure in sort of Scottish AFL. So he now, to keep him involved in the game, we decided to run this Ash Palmer Trophy. So he used to play for the Falkirk team that folded. So for the first year, we got his old team back together, all the guys that played for it. We got all the strips and stuff, and we played a game as Eagles versus Falkirk Silverbacks, they're called. So that was pretty good for him. Like, now this year it was more of we invited other teams. We invited a team from a local team, the Glasgow Sharks. They're one of the sort of bigger teams in Scotland, along with Edinburgh. So we invited those guys along, and we had a tournament with them, and we ended up winning the day. So and the ladies we did a ladies game as well. So they played, but what they did was they got kind of all the girls from all the teams across Scotland and sort of played a mixed match. So it was almost like a kind of Scottish All-Stars kind of game where they had the players from every team. And I've got it here. So there's the cup.
Oh,
The
very
silverware.
nice.
Yeah. First silver. It might be our own tournament, but never mind. Still take it.
Unfortunate to hear about what happened to Ash Palmer, but it's a lovely gesture by you guys to put something like that together, and that's something we love about community sport is that kind of spirit that it brings out in people and bringing communities together for others and stuff. Obviously, being the president of the club, you would have had a lot to do with it, organising all that. So how did you sort of come to be the president, and what's your role entail there?
Yeah, so it was sometime last year we got absolutely cuffed off one of the teams in Scotland. They put about 200 points on us. So we sort of decided, we probably need to start taking it a bit more seriously. So we completely restructured the way the coaching was working. We completely restructured the committee. And then towards the end of that year, when we had our sort of official AGM, I ran for president and got it. So before that, I'd been the treasurer for the club, and I don't think the finances were ever as bad as when I was the treasurer. So the president role definitely suits me better. So yeah, we're working towards that now. So I think now, as president, what it kind of seems to entail more than anything else is just sorting out people's moaning. But yeah, I don't know if you might think the same about your presidency, but it's good. Like, most of the people at the club are really like pretty sound, and most of them are just kind of keen to keep going with the sport, keep growing the sport. And yeah, I think we're just trying, especially with the kind of lockdown, it's probably a bit different to what it normally is. But it's just trying to keep everybody motivated, trying to keep everybody engaged. I think in the club is the main thing at the moment.
Yeah, definitely.
You'd understand that, Rifty, about trying to make sure people stop complaining?
Oh, they'll never stop, but
you can't stop them, no.
No.
So you've mentioned Edinburgh a couple of times. How far away are you guys from Edinburgh?
10 miles. Like, it's not far at all. It's about 20 to get to the sort of the nearest. So there's a team in Edinburgh, the Bloods. To get to their sort of home ground, it's probably like a 20-minute drive. It's not far at all.
So where the suburb myself and Rifty live in is actually about 20 minutes away from our home ground, which is called Edinburgh Reserve. So I thought that was a bit of a
I noticed that on maps. I was looking, I looked it up. I noticed that. I think that was pretty good linking.
Yeah. So talking about a bit of linking with Scotland and footy in Australia, from my understanding, there are actually quite a few Scottish people that were crucial in the early development of Aussie rules in Australia, and it also includes the greatest club in the world that is currently still going.
Well, us.
No, it's
So I think we kind of, when I sort of first started getting into the game, so somebody was saying to me, "Oh, the rules were written by a Scottish guy," and I was like, "Nah, that's daft." I looked it up, and apparently it is actually. It's like an English guy, a Scottish guy, and two Australians that wrote the rules, or the original rules back in like 1870 or something. And there was a guy who was born in Ayrshire, which is sort of in the west of Scotland, John McAdam. So I think he was the first ever umpire for an Aussie rules game. So he obviously helped to write the rules as well. But I think that the reference to the greatest ever club, there was a family in Melbourne who owned a brewery, the McCrackens, who were from England, and the guy who was kind of the head of that family, he was white. He's credited as being the founder of Essendon. So he's the founder of Essendon, was a Scottish guy in his family.
Well, when you say a Brit, a Scot, and two Aussies, it sort of sounds like the start of a bad joke, doesn't it? The walked into a bar and started writing down the rules to Aussie rules. So.
Yeah, the English guy was a cricketer. Maybe he was just bored of getting beat. Come up with a different game.
Obviously, safe to say that the first ever umpire was obviously blind as well. Then.
Yeah. They still are. That's why they're all blind now.
Yeah. So it must be written in the rules somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, I was actually thinking as you were saying that the Scots wrote the rules or wrote the original rules. I'm like, yeah, you can definitely tell the Australians are now taking it over with how soft they made it come.
It's just a violent game. Yeah, that's probably what we were going for.
So, how many clubs currently play in the Scottish Australian Rules Football League? And you've mentioned them, but who are they? And also, you said there were 3 teams or 3 clubs that have a women's team as well.
Yeah. So there's 6 men's teams in the Scottish League. 2 in Glasgow, 1 in Edinburgh, 1 in Fife, the route that I mentioned earlier, and us. There's also the 6th team is actually in Newcastle in England, so that's not too far away in a car. It's maybe like a couple hours drive. So it actually works out better for them to play in the Scottish League because there's not, obviously the teams are kind of few and far between. So it's easier. It's just as easy for them to drive up and play in the Scottish League as it is for them to go to the sort of nearest team in England. 4 of those teams have ladies teams. It's us, the 2 Glasgow teams both have ladies teams, and the Edinburgh team now. So this year will be the kind of last year the ladies played a bunch of sort of fixtures that were they were called carnival fixtures. So it was like a round robin kind of tournament thing where everyone could just turn up and play, and they played as many games as they could in one day. And it tended to sort of clash with the men's fixtures as well. So they ended up with pretty decent crowds, I think, at some of these games, which the men don't even get sometimes. So that was pretty that was cool to see. So this year they're starting up what they're calling the SARFL W, which is Scottish Australian Rules Football League Women's, which is so it's going to be like a formal league this year with finals and champions at the end of it.
So actually, you've just mentioned about their first ever actual proper official season for the women. How many rounds are in a season for not only the men's and the women's, and how did your final system work?
So for the men, because it's been kind of fluid with a number of teams in the league. So we've obviously just joined the league. The Newcastle team are fairly new to the league as well. They've been changing it up sort of year on year. So the way that it works, you play every team once, and then I think you play another 3 teams again. So you end up playing, I think it's either 7 or 8 games for the men that we play, and there's some kind of seeding system that makes the fixtures fairer. In terms of finals, the top 4 teams go into the finals for the guys. So first they'll play second for a spot in the grand final, and then second will play the winner of third and fourth for the second spot in the grand final. The loser of first, second will play the winner of third, fourth for the spot in the final. So it's kind of second chance thing that you have in, the proper AFL. For the women, because there's only 4 teams, it's just the top 2 go to the grand final.
Yeah. So your actual final system is exactly the same as a lot of final systems in Australia that run with the top 4. Some run with the top 5, but yeah, exactly the same as quite a lot in Australia, that top 4 system.
Yeah, and it works out well with the 6 teams, I think. there was talk of having a sort of 5th, 6th playoff as well, just to get more game time for some of the teams, because it's a struggle, obviously, to get games. There's not that many teams here, so yeah, that was the idea. That didn't really take off.
Yeah. How long do your games go for?
We played just the same as what you guys play. So we played 80 minutes, 4 20-minute quarters.
Yep, so no time on, just straight 20-minute quarters.
Yeah, no time on. Just once the 20 minutes is done, that's your that's your long. They'll stop the clock, obviously, if the ball goes in a river or something, which has happened. But that's about it.
Yeah.
All right. Can you explain that? Because that's actually very intriguing to me.
Yeah. So we started by talking about the Scottish weather. So our last game last year, we played in an absolute monsoon. Like literally by the end of the game, there was about 2 inches of water on the pitch. So our sort of home ground has a little sort of stream next to it, and it's got a fence up, so normally it can't go through, but somehow there was a hole in the fence, and obviously somebody found it with a kick, and the ball went in the river. So one of the new guys in the club had to fish it out of the river. This guy Dan, he hadn't played a game yet, and he was only 10 into this river fishing out.
So you earn your stripes, though.
It's initiation to the club. Yeah.
You can't. Well, so it's obviously we can't just buy. We can't just go down to the shop and buy a share, and we needed it. We couldn't go without it. So if we want a share, and we have to order one from Australia, and it can take like a month. So yeah.
So what months of the year do your footy seasons run in?
So our season usually starts we start training in about January. Start doing some pre-season kind of work. Then we sort of, our first games usually are in sort of pre-season friendlies and pre-season tournaments in March. And then we play our first kind of league games usually in April. So the league runs April to July usually, and then the finals are in August.
Yep. So pretty much same as what we're doing.
Yeah. Similar. So it's got to fit outside of the rugby season, because otherwise we can't get a pitch. Is the problem. So we play on rugby pitches in Europe usually. So we're kind of most teams kind of share a pitch with a rugby club.
Yeah.
So obviously you said that you play on a rugby pitch. Is it different when you watch it from Australia and it's on an oval ground compared to when you play it on a rectangle ground?
I haven't played. I haven't played on an oval personally, so I can't really see much of a difference. But I think the guys that come over from Australia, so they you get boys coming over from Australia who can absolutely bomb it about 60, 70 meters, and they can score from virtually anywhere on a rugby pitch, which I think that's probably the main difference. But yeah, I think personally, it's all I've known. So I've only played the game for 2 years or so, and I haven't been to Australia either. So I'm trying to get that worked into my sort of my list. But obviously with the COVID stuff, that's difficult at the moment.
Yeah, it definitely makes it hard. But yeah, you ever venture your way across to Australia and you find yourself in Melbourne, there's always a Cobra jumper with your name on it, mate, for a game if you want one.
Great stuff. Honorary Cobra.
We'll try not to get, let you take too many shots from deep in the pockets where you wouldn't be used to it.
My signature.
So you said before that you play in a couple of pre-season competitions, and you actually play in one in Belfast and Ireland, which I'm not going to lie, the name did give me a bit of a chuckle, called the Leprechaun Cup. It's for both your men's and women's teams. Can you explain how many teams play in it, where they come from, and how the tournament works, and if you've had any success in it?
Yeah. So the Leprechaun Cup is run by a team in Belfast, the Belfast Redbacks. So there's obviously a good link sort of between the kind of Northern Irish Gaelic football and AFL. So it's relatively popular over that way. Leprechaun Cup, the name I think is self-explanatory, but it's a good bit of promo for them as well, I think, to have that kind of humorous name. So we travelled over this year. The men, we travelled, I think about 7 of us travelled over, and we linked up with a team called the Galway Magpies, and sort of we got a run out with them. And the girls travelled over. I think about 8 of them travelled over with a few of the girls from the other club as well, and they linked up, and they actually ended up winning the tournament. on the girls' side. So we didn't. Obviously, the guys didn't win, but the girls did. So they tend to get a lot of teams from around Europe. I think most years it's one of the kind of bigger pre-season tournaments. So this year they had Amsterdam, they had Wandsworth from London. I think they had 4 or 5 Irish teams, and I think they had a French team as well. So a good sort of international mix.
Yeah, that's a really good mix, actually. So you said that a lot of your players join your club for the social side of it. I'm going to imagine that the drinks and the kick-ons after that Leprechaun Cup would be just pretty next level and pretty good fun.
So the Redbacks organised a really good party. So they, I think for them, they obviously use it as a fundraising opportunity. So it's their tournament, they host it, and they did a big raffle with a lot of kind of like AFL jumpers, like different Redbacks gear and stuff like that you could win. I think the particular highlight was one guy won a bottle of Buckfast in the raffle. So I don't know if you know what Buckfast is, but in Scotland it's like the sort of the drink that all the wee bams would drink. So like it's like a 14% fortified wine, tonic wine. So it's yeah. So he got a full bottle of it in the raffle, and then everyone just started chanting, chug. And he did the whole thing. So
How'd that end for him?
I didn't see him again. Weirdly, I didn't know
what a coincidence!
Like ever again?
Yeah. No. Well, I think he was a London guy. I think he was one of the Londoners. So, yeah, didn't see him again after that. Weirdly.
So you've mentioned a bit about all the sort of different tournaments and stuff across Europe and into London and stuff. So where do most of the better players and better teams come from? Is Ireland sort of the
Ireland's a big one, yeah.
Yeah.
So Ireland, I think, because they've got a lot of locals who have a lot of the skills anyway from the Gaelic football. I think they tend to have quite sustainable teams, and because all the locals will play, and they actually know what the game is, which is a big bonus. Sort of London's a strong one as well because there's so many expat Aussies in London, and I think Amsterdam similarly are pretty. They've got a lot of Aussies that live there too. So those are kind of the three that, well, from my experience anyway, that's what I would say are the kind of strongest teams. Although apparently, I can't confirm or deny, but apparently Denmark is a really, really strong place. Apparently there's a guy who used to play in the AFL who moved to Denmark, had a son, and basically formed a club around that. And apparently they're a really strong team now. So I played against them at the Euro Cup, and yeah, they did seem to be pretty. They are pretty good, sort of unseasonably good. I think they've got a guy who had a trial at GWS as well. So I think he played a bit and ended up going on trial at GWS, which is obviously that's huge for a European.
That's a fair effort.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the Euros. What's the Euros? What exactly is that?
Yeah. So I mean, obviously not really in Australia, but there's a lot of, as I mentioned, there's a few leagues around Europe. So they have an international European Cup, which is a 9-a-side tournament that they play, and they rotate the hosts. So it's usually an annual thing. This year it was meant to be in Scotland, but it was going to be next month. So they're not obviously running it this year, or they've postponed it to October, I think it was. But it'll depend obviously on what happens with COVID. But it's a 9-a-side tournament where every sort of probably about 18, I think, is the most they've had countries will play off for the title of European champion. So yeah, there's a few kind of strong teams. The Scottish team playing it pretty much. I think they've entered it every year. The men's team. Last year it was in Sweden. The year before that it was in Ireland. I think it was in France before that. So yeah, it's a big deal for us.
Very nice. So is that sort of the only chance to represent as a nation sort of thing in a nines competition? Is that?
No. For nines, pretty much it's the only thing that goes on now. So they used to have something called the Tri-Nations, which was England, Scotland and Wales playing off against each other. So I think that used to be like an annual thing, but it seems to have kind of died off in the last few years. I think they were sort of struggling for interest more than anything. And then they play, so a lot of countries as well will play 18s. because obviously if you can pick from all the teams in the league, then it's easier to get the numbers you need for 18s. So there's a GB team, which is obviously England, Wales, and us, Scotland. And they're decent. They're probably one of the better teams. I think they won the European 18s Championship last year, which so they've obviously got a few good teams. I mentioned Denmark. I mentioned Germany were in it, France, and I think that's and Ireland as well, obviously. So I think Ireland and GB were kind of the two main 18 or the two best 18s sides.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you and your wife both play, but before starting up this West Lothian, how long have you been kicking our odd-shaped ball around for?
I didn't. I'd never heard of the sport before I came along to the first ever training. I think it was the first sort of official training session that the club held. So literally hadn't heard of it. I'd never done any kind of sort of Aussie rules kind of sports. I'd played a bit of rugby, like a lot of people. I'd played a bit of soccer as well. So, I'd done some team sports, but I'd never heard of this game before. And then my mate, he was the president of the club at the time, and he said, "Oh, just come along." And then he said to me, "Oh, I played for Scotland last summer," and I was like, "What? Like, that's bizarre," because it seems like it would be like a really high level. And he was like, "No, I did." And he showed me photos and stuff. And I was just like, "Well, do you know what? I could probably do that." And so I went down and sort of joined in for the training, and then that was probably like January of that year. And then towards that was the year that the Euro Cup was in Cork in Ireland, and then I ended up going to Cork and playing for Scotland, which I thought was, I was just hooked, basically.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you who you follow in the AFL, but myself being a fairly big fan of the world game, football or soccer, as most people tell me to call it, who do you support as in in Scotland and your main club around the world, which actually I think would be in Scotland?
Yeah. It's only the one club. It's Glasgow Rangers. That's my team. So not been the best few years for us, but hopefully we'll be back.
Now, I need a follow-up question to that. Have you been to an Old Firm derby?
Nah, I haven't been to one. No, I've usually watch it in the pub, start drinking at about 6 a.m. and see how you get on.
So my co-host actually doesn't know much about the game, but Rifty, to go to an Old Firm derby is on my bucket list. That's how big a deal it is. You sit there and watch a game live on TV, and you don't understand how the ref ain't pulling out more cards than what he does.
Because if he did, there wouldn't be any players.
Exactly right.
The extent of my soccer knowledge comes from Green Street Hooligans. So is that sort of on what you're talking about, or?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm like.
Yeah.
That guy. Bloody
Absolutely.
journal. I managed to. It's really hard to get tickets for the Old Firm, and last year I think it was. I managed to go to a Barcelona Real Madrid game, so probably the two biggest clubs in the world. And it was easier to get tickets for that than it was for an Old Firm game.
Oh, shit.
So that's the kind of, it's like gold dust.
Yeah, it's. I'm pretty sure there's a doco on Netflix. I think, Rifty. I know you're not a big fan, mate, but give it a watch and you'll get an appreciation for the game. But all right, who do you follow in the AFL?
So, like I said, before I started, I'd literally never heard of the game. So we got all this kind of Eagles kit sent over. We had a lot of strips and things like that, so I could only really. And then I ended up watching a lot of the Eagles games and stuff that year, trying to learn a bit more about it. And then they ended up winning the flag. So they're. I would say they're my team.
So chose a good year to jump on the Eagles, then. Yeah.
And no, it's not like it was planned.
And also, time zone, I reckon, like 3 hours behind us would probably work better for you guys as well, like on a Saturday or Sunday, giving it a watch.
Well, they play in Melbourne so much, it doesn't really matter. So, I think it does work out. Not too bad. So I think some of the games can be on at like 4 a.m, which I wouldn't bother getting up for that. But a lot of them are on at kind of 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, which is more my time.
Imagine that for a way to start your day, Rifty. You just jump up, have a shower, have your coffee and your breakfast, and you're sitting there watching your team play.
Yeah. But it's like us when we're trying to get up and watch a NFL game or soccer or what
Yeah.
you know.
The one downfall about starting your day watching your team, if they get beaten, day's ruined from the start.
You're flat.
You're flat all day.
Quite last year anyway. What happened quite a lot was they would have a game and then we would have a game. So you could get over it by just like, all right, I need to go play the game now. So yeah.
So do you guys do anything special for the AFL grand final at all? Now that you've
So
got into it?
now that we're going. Yeah, so we do. I think part of the thing that we try and do as a club is kind of, most people don't really know much about Aussie rules, so we try and sort of encourage them to watch things and try and encourage them to sort of, watching these grand finals and things like that. So 2 years ago for the grand final, we just basically hired out the rugby club, and we sat in there and then did the famous pub crawl back to the train station. And then last year for the grand final, we arranged our footy trip around it. So we were in Prague when it was on. So the way that it worked, we played the game against the boys from Prague, the Dragons, and then they kind of hosted an after party, which was class. Like they were really good hosts, the guys from the Dragons. So it's definitely worth a trip to Prague if you get the chance. So they hosted this after party for us, and they played a replay of the grand final. So it had been on at like 5:30 in the morning or something, which we were actually still in the pub when it was on. And then we played this some semblance of a footy game, or tried to, and then we just got back on the beers. I think we won the boat race, so that was the main thing.
There's a few blokes I reckon.
Yeah.
There's a few blokes, Rifty, I reckon, they'd be more than happy to go play in Prague, I reckon.
Mate, we might lose some players to be wanting to head overseas with that kind of get up, leaving the pub and going to play footy. I think a few of our boys would love to be doing that.
They spend a lot of their younger days being looked down upon for doing that, and then we find out in Scotland it's all good to go.
We had to get the tram. We got a tram from our Airbnb to the Prague Dragons home ground, and it just so happened we met their coach we'd actually met him a couple of times before, but we met him on the tram, and he's just I could tell he was looking at us like, what have you done?
Bloody Scots, what do they do?
I love it.
To be fair, at times in that game I was thinking, what have I done? So yeah.
It's one thing I could never do was play hungover.
No, but I can't even drink, so...
Actually, I just want a couple of connections there. So every year I have the grand final big party at my house. President Rifty just trotted along last September, and I'm pretty sure you took home pretty much every single cent that was in the sweeps, Rifty.
Yeah, so I don't know if you guys get into the sort of betting side of things over there, but we do just a little friendly. Everyone chucks in $2, and you get to pick a name out of the hat for the sweep. So you get a first goal kicker for each half, and then the Norm Smith medalist. And I just happened to get first goal kicker for each half and the Norm Smith medalist. So absolutely cleaned up.
And he decided that was going to be the day he was going to have a drink. And there's a pretty good photo circulating around of President Rifty with his presentation mustache going and the excitement on his face.
Yeah, it was the first drink in over 10 years, and the last for another 10 probably. But
nice.
And so obviously we've basically started this podcast to sort of stay connected with our players and our supporters, and do stuff for our sponsors and stuff. How are you guys sort of staying connected through the lockdown and as a club?
Yeah. So we built up. Unfortunately, I think probably a lot of people we built up a lot of momentum, prior to the lockdown, and we just announced that we got our kit sponsor for the girls. So we got a specific girls kit, which I think we're the first team in Scotland to do. We got company called Grangemouth Tanker Services, who are kind of related to sort of the oil industry and things like that, had sponsored kit for us. We'd won the Ash Palmer Trophy. The girls had won the Leprechaun Cup, so we were really like flying basically. And then we got hit with this lockdown, so it was a huge sort of dampener on the spirits of the club. But what we've sort of tried to do is keep up sort of challenges on our Strava group, try and keep people running and things like that. We've tried to set kind of just taking like daft videos of each other and trying to post them on social media, stuff like that, to get people a laugh. Which obviously how you guys heard about us as well through that Instagram. So then things like we do a kind of week. Well, tonight we're doing a Zoom video conference quiz. So I've hosted it the last couple of weeks, but someone else has taken the hosting duties off me this week. So it must have been that bad.
Either that, or they just couldn't. Either that, or they just thought the questions were too hard, and they weren't.
Oh, we did it. I tried to do it in a way that we didn't have any kind of trivia. So I was going through blokes' social media and stuff like that, pulling up old profile pictures and being like, work out who this is, and pulling out old Facebook statuses and be like, oh, who wrote this?
So I'm going to take the guess that the bloke that's now hosting it was the one that got the most flack over his posts.
No, it's not. No, he can't work his computer. I picked a very safe target for that one.
Smart.
So it was a good laugh. It gave everyone a bit of a boost. So we did stupid things on it, like the first round was a scavenger hunt. So we would say like, oh, you have to find a hat and put it on, or like a pair of glasses or something, and then so obviously because it's Zoom, you can see what people are doing. You can see them sort of panicking, running around their houses looking for these obscure items that come out of the depths of my brain. So yeah, just things like that. Yeah, it was a good laugh. Yeah.
Might need to have a chat to him afterwards, Rifty, because we are trying to work out how to do a bit of a Zoom quiz trivia night thing.
Yeah, I think a lot of clubs have been doing similar things, and it's great to use the technology we have at our hands to stay connected to our club, and especially our members.
Definitely, yeah.
But speaking of sort of the technology side of things, how would guys find you online? And we'll obviously put up some details for you guys. But if people want to follow along the journey of West Lothian, how do we go doing that?
Yeah, so we're on all the sort of major social media platforms. Our Facebook's definitely the one that we're the most sort of up to date on. We've got Twitter, Instagram, and I think we got rid of our website this year, but we've got, if you Google West Lothian Eagles, we'll come up.
Yeah, nice. So we'll definitely share some links to the socials for you guys, and hopefully gain some followers, and they can follow along the journey of West Lothian as you hopefully get back to playing some footy this year, and even maybe make some finals.
Yeah, hopefully. I think that's definitely what we're aiming for anyway, to try and get that. Should be attainable. We hope getting a top 4 spot in the 6-team league, but we'll see how we go. I think that's the main thing, and obviously we always appreciate the support from over in Australia from guys like yourselves, and obviously the West Coast Eagles that I'd mentioned, they've supported us through it all. And there's another guy as well. He runs a page called Footy Trigger, and he sent us over some kit last year. So just give him a quick shout out as well when we're talking about social media.
Yep.
Because it's a huge deal for us to get any kind of Sharons or anything like that. So it's for him to have sent these over to Scotland, that's a huge deal. So if you're looking for it, give him a follow if you can as well on Footy Trigger.
Yeah, we'll get all the details off you once you're off, and we'll put all that up. Got anything else you want to add, Ed Dog?
I just want to give a massive thanks to you, Jamie, for joining us on our first episode of Going Around the Globe and talking to how clubs are run and how footy in the countries are run. I have spoken to your social media coordinator, and we're going to send across a Cobracast jumper for you guys. That way, a bit of a thank you for joining us and everything like that.
Thanks very much, guys. That'd be great. Yeah.
Yeah,
cool. We'll get
more than happy.
We might even slip in a share in there for you, since just don't go kicking in any rivers.
Since I gave you the sub story.
He played as well, Rifty. He played as well.
I've got this, right? I've got this new one here that I bought a week before lockdown, and I've not been able to kick it. So I'm sitting with a new sharing in my house that I'm looking at, and I can't.
And the missus is saying, "Hey, stop kicking it around in house."
Only a few times. I've not broken anything yet, so I think as long as I'm, she's all right.
But yeah, mate, thank you so much for joining us. Obviously, we've said at the start that I'd be just past 9 o'clock your time in the morning. We're going to go, and I'm going to go have a couple more beers, and unfortunately, you're going to need to go to work.
Yeah, well, my work is literally on the other side of the laptop today, so I'm not working from home during lockdown. So
it's a decent commute to work.
Oh yeah, a long one, but yeah.
Thank you.
Get the fridge for after it.
Yeah, but thank you very much for joining us, mate. We really do appreciate it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks.
cheers, lad.
Thanks a lot for your time, and enjoy your day at work. And yeah, we'll keep in contact, and hopefully, like I said, we're seeing posts of you guys playing some good footy and making finals. And
we'll be cheering you on from the Cobra pit.
Yeah, if you do make a granny, we'll definitely have to jump back on and get even after the season, we might have to jump back on and get a wrap up of your season once game's under.
I just want to point out, Rifty, that from the sounds of it, you probably need to wait a good 3 to 4 weeks after the grand final if they win it to get him on.
Yeah,
I think the Amsterdam trip's probably is meant to be the week after the grand final. So probably not that week.
Let's give him about 8 weeks.
Yeah,
I'm not doing a.
We'll catch you in December then, eh? Once the smoke settles from
2021.
Once everyone's been released from Amsterdam, we'll catch up with you then.
Yeah, perfect.
No worries. Thanks a lot for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed learning a bit about West Lothian. And yeah, thanks again, Jamie.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Cobracast with the Prez and VP. What do we got coming up next, Dog?
We've got an episode coming out Thursday night. We're joined by a very special guest, Todd Morgan. He's Victorian Program Coordinator and National Trainer for Outside the Locker Room. Outside the Locker Room is an organisation that focuses on mental health, in particular mental health within sports clubs. So we're looking forward to having a chat with him. You can head to otlr.org.au if you'd like to find out some more about them or tips on mental health and everything like that. Or if you need someone to speak to right away, you can call Lifeline on 13 11 11. And we all know we're people struggling through this current lockdown period, so make sure you look after your mates.
Yeah, and unfortunately, there was a tragedy on our roads recently where 4 police officers lost their lives due to a road accident. On behalf of Sandown, my condolences go out to all the family, friends, and fellow police officers that are affected by that tragedy. Our thoughts are with all of them, as we are supporters of TAC's Towards Zero campaign, because 0 is the only acceptable number.
So once again, thank you for joining us on the Cobracast's first edition of Around the Globe. And we look forward to seeing you Thursday night with Todd Morgan from Outside the Locker Room.